Welcome back to the Our View podcast. On today's episode, I welcome my guest, Chef Melissa Lee. Join our conversation as we discuss her experience of raising a son who has an autism diagnosis and the health benefits of cooking with Asian ingredients. So I want to welcome everybody back to another episode of the Our View podcast. On today's episode, we have my very special guest, Melissa Lee. So welcome to the podcast, Melissa. And we are happy to have you here today and to have a great conversation. I'm really looking forward to it. So if you could you just give us a brief introduction about who you are and what you do and any fun facts that you would like to share with our audience today?
Oh, hey, Arthur. First, this is my pleasure. Such an honor to be here with you. I am Chef Melissa Lee. I am the owner of a food and lifestyle brand, Cooking Beautiufllee. We launched our brand during the pandemic. We offer like cooking tip, cooking videos, and sometimes food and politics, some thought-provoking articles, and we also host a Zoom cooking class. We have cooking club for people to join us. Our mission is to build a community and bring people together to celebrate food, culture, and curiosity. So a fun fact about me, Kit Kat is my weakness, but
Oh,
I like to collect Kit Kat, all different kind of Kit Kat. Like if you go to Asian supermarket like H Mart, they have green tea Kit Kat, Earl Grey Kit Kat, taro Kit Kat, any flavor of Kit Kat. If I see a new one, I feel like I must have it, and I need to, need to collect them. So yes, I teach people how to make healthy food, but sometimes I do like to indulge with a little bit junk food as well. Yes.
hey, I think we all do. I personally, I'm not a chocolate person. It's so interesting. I don't eat fruit, but I like all the artificial fruit flavored candies. So I
Okay.
so
Yes.
I'm a Starburst and Skittles fan. So
Oh, yes, yes. So definitely try I think there was a strawberry cheesecake Kit Kat, and also there is a cherry blossom flavor. Those are so good. Yeah.
I
Mhm.
had no idea there were so many
Yes.
so many
Yes.
flavors of Kit Kats.
But I
That's
think
really fun.
sometimes it's not. I don't know if you can order from Amazon, but now I know you like this stuff. I will look. I will go do some research for you. Share some valuable resource with you. Yes.
Yeah. So our next topic of conversation, you and I, we met very I won't say randomly because I believe that, all connections are meant to happen. We met through a Zoom vision board event, correct? That's
Yes, yes,
yeah,
yes, yes, yes,
I just
yes,
forgot the word
yes,
vision board for some reason.
yes,
through
yes,
the
yes.
um through the Good End
Yeah.
brand, which is
Mm,
owned and operated by our friend Brittany. And that was
yes.
such a great fun event to participate in because there
It
were
really was.
maybe 15 of us there on the Zoom call, and we were able to walk each
Mhm.
other through and give each other some ideas of what to put on our vision board, and just to be open and vulnerable with each other was such a great experience for me, for sure. I had a good time with it. Um,
I had so much good time, and also I think because of that event, I was able to get to know you and get to know the mission that you have for your platform, and I mean, I really just admire that you're going to share your experience and have other people to share their experience. So, because a lot of time when we think about some challenge, we think about some, I maybe we can say suffering, and we don't
Mhm.
know why why it happened to me. But when you have a calling, when you have a mission, then you understand, wow, actually all those challenges that I have faced, those mountains that I have climbed, I can share my experience and I can help people. So I was very touched, when I got to know you through that vision board activity. I think what I got was not just about making a board, it was really, met some incredible people. Yes.
Yeah, and that's I love what you just said that um when we have challenges, we always, our first response is why me, or why am
Mhm.
I going through these challenges? And I think, well, I don't think, I know for sure that's why I created this whole
Mhm.
platform, because I want to change that. I want to change the way that people see those who live with disabilities. And we like to have great fun and do fun things, and I just want to give a little bit of insight and give a chance, give a platform for people to share their stories
Mhm.
with a wider audience who may not have otherwise heard of them. So
Mhm. Mhm.
which leads us into our next topic, actually, which
Mhm.
is your son. He was diagnosed with autism. And
Yes, actually,
yeah.
we can get my little guy come over here. Hey, Max. Max, come here. So this is my son. Max, can you say hi? Well,
Hi,
so as you can
Max.
see, he's not really verbal,
Uh-huh.
right? And he has some limited eye contact. Max, can you look at mommy? Look at mommy. Good, nice, good looking. Okay, you can go play.
Yeah.
So yes, you can see my little man. He's very handsome. But when he was 2 year old, because I noticed other children are all talking, he was not talking,
Hmm.
and also he will focus on one toy or one activity. Let's say when I took him to the playground, and here is the slide, right? And in some slide there are some little holes, right?
Right.
You know, he just will spend hours to put wood chips repetitively to the hole, to the hole, to the hole, to the hole. He wouldn't go interact with other children. He wouldn't interact with me. He would just repetitively doing something and kind of seem to be so enjoy in his little universe,
Hmm.
doing that. So, some of his behavior and the language delay, I was a little bit concerned. So then I took him to see a neuropsych doctor and got to know that he has autism. And so he started early intervention treatment since he was 2. But the gap between he and typical developing children is getting wider and wider. And by the time I think he was 4 or 4.5 year old, he got the diagnosis not just autism but also intellectual disability. Yes.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it was nice to meet him virtually.
Yes.
hopefully one day hopefully one day I'll
Yes.
be able to meet you all in person.
Yes, yes, that
That's
would
the
be great.
yeah, that's the
Yeah.
goal of
One thing I can promise to be my friend is anywhere you go, I take you to nice restaurant, and because I'm a chef, I know a lot of chef friends. They'll treat you as
yes.
VIP. Never suffer from eating bad food with me. Yes. Yes.
You speak my language. I love food and I love
Yes,
good food.
yes,
So
yes, yes, yes. And if you find yourself in Boston, call me. I promise I will come with a free flavor, different kind of Kit Kat for you.
okay.
Okay, only for you.
Yes.
Fruitful, like fruitful or fruit flavor. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so I look forward to the good food and the different
The
flavored
Kit
Kit Kats when I come to Boston the next time.
Kat.
Yeah, I love the story about your son, and just talking about how you noticed how he would focus on the one thing, like you said, at the playground. And um but yet at the same time you said he was focusing on the one thing, but he was so content and so happy with, just being
Yes.
in his own space and doing his own thing. That's really yeah, it's a great observation on your part to really recognize that at such an early age for him. Can you discuss a lot of times when you hear about autism, you hear about sensory issues and things like that that accompany the diagnosis a lot of times in children. Can you discuss some of the sensory issues and uh, some of the issues that that your son had with eating?
Well, I think that the sensory. Okay, so first I'm going to just talk about sensory issue in general, not just about eating, but then later I will go cover eating because I am a chef.
Yes.
So sensory in general will be, I think he's also very sensitive to noise. So let's say when we go to a restroom, the noise from a hand dryer might be okay for all of us, but it can be very, very noisy for him. And we all, me and my little girl, whenever we are doing some chore, we always want to include him. But let's say yesterday we were making orange juice, but when you put the orange on the juicer, you will make the noise, and it's not even that loud. It's like ah, but
Right.
he cannot handle that. So that's very hard for him. And also other sensory issue would be like it's very hard for him to wear sweater
Oh yeah.
because those, the I don't know, the wood, sorry, wool,
Yeah, the
certain
fibers from the
texture.
material.
Yes, it
Mhm.
bothers him. So it has to be, the cotton and soft shirt, then that will work.
Mhm.
Um, and also, like a lot of time, he was suddenly, doing certain things like, use his finger to touch a hard surface because he need that sensory in, input.
Mhm.
And I have uh I live in I rent an apartment, and I have neighbor live downstairs. And I think during the pandemic, because we all need to stay home, and he need to do this to the floor, and then it just kind of generates some noise. And to explain to people that he has that sensory issue, that he needs that kind of stimulating, how to say, stimulus. It's
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's hard for people to understand why he need those sensory input. But I think sensory is just an issue overall. And in terms of eating, then when he was little, he was almost on a white diet. He only eat pasta, rice, and chicken nugget, or French fries, anything white you eat. And I took him to a feeding therapy because I love food, and I wonder why I make so much effort to cook all different kind of delicious food. He just will not eat it. I was sad and frustrated. But then I learned that he has that sensory issue. So, like for us, like for us as a chef, how we define if a dish is good, not just the flavor aspect, we also think about texture a lot, right?
Right.
When you have think about ice cream sundae, you have something soft,
Yes.
right? And you rice smooth, but also on top, usually there's a candy pecan or caramel popcorn. You want something,
Yeah, something crunchy.
crispy, crunchy, right? And then all those combination will make a dish taste so good. But probably doesn't work for my little man. Like if it's two ice cream, Haagen-Dazs and Ben and Jerry, he's a Haagen-Dazs person because it's very smooth, and in terms of the texture, it's quite easy for him to handle. It
Mhm.
can only be all soft and chewy or all super crispy like Lay's chips. Then he would eat
Okay.
the chips. And so at that time, the feeding therapy, we started to use a special brush to brush his entire mouth just to desensitize.
Mhm.
And then I wrote down, we have a sensory hierarchy we need to break. So every time we will take a new food we want him to try, we start with smell. So first, at least, he's willing to smell it, right? And
Right.
then we try a couple of times, and then we started after smell it would be kiss. Then you just kiss
Oh
the
yeah.
food, and then bite. Okay, how about take a first bite, right? After we have gone through smell, kiss, bite, then it will be chew and swallow. But it's really just to break down, all those different steps when you enjoy a food. And also, I think it's actually not just eating. I think with a child who has a disability, intellectual disability, a lot of things when we want to teach him, it's not like, how to say, several step instruction will be too complicated. He might get lost after
Okay.
he finished the first instruction. So to break things down into different instruction has been, quite important. Yeah.
Yeah, to really take it step by step is
Mhm.
it's really great. And I mean, it's I think for people, even people without intellectual disabilities and without autism, we smell our food too. That's part of that's part of the experience of, not
Yes,
just what it
yes,
looks like, what it tastes like, but what it smells like and all of that. That's all part of an eating experience, I think, for everybody. So
yes.
so for you
Authors,
to really,
yeah.
yeah, for you to really break it down like that step by step, it makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, so I'm 100% with you. So on my website, actually, one of the most popular article that I wrote about parenting was a article called "Did I Screw Up My Kids?" Talking about picky eater, because it's not just children in the spectrum might end up being a picky eater. A typical child might be a picky eater, and I think for a parents to be like super hardcore, like, oh, you must eat it, like
Right.
they can try this approach to start with the smell, kiss, and
Right.
then
Yeah.
right. Although I think that's a good strategy.
Yeah, that
Anyways.
really is, because it really breaks it down step by step
Mhm, mhm,
of
mhm.
how to process everything. I think that's a great mechanism for a lot of people to use, because there are
Yes.
many picky eaters. I was
Yeah.
definitely a picky eater in my earlier years and even in my adult years too. I won't lie about that.
Yeah. I
I
would. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I didn't like I still don't, but I didn't like a lot of fruit. I didn't like any fruit actually, and I still don't eat fruit. But
It's okay. Not
yeah,
here to judge.
yeah, but
I
and
appreciate how honest you are.
I didn't like Jello either because
Oh,
because it moved. I told my mom, and
what did she say?
and it was the strangest thing, but I never liked it, and I still just I don't I don't even eat it today, but it's
Mhm.
a texture thing for me with the fruit. The fruits were very I didn't like the texture of them. But I
Mm,
love vegetables and eat vegetables all the time. So,
mhm.
we all have our
Yes,
things that we
I
like or dislike.
yeah, yeah. If there's one thing I can share with other parents or even adult, it's just really we don't need to feel like we need to compete with each other. Like, oh, my children can eat all different kind of food, and your
Right.
child, like, I mean, one thing I think I learned is really to be less judging. When you have a child who
Hmm.
is kind of different from typical developing child. But also the other thing is, as an adult, I would say before I went to culinary school, before I work in commercial kitchen, actually my palate totally changed. So before I actually didn't eat spicy food, and I will never eat fusion. I would get so mad because I feel like those people are messing around with my cultural heritage. I used to be
Hmm.
very judging, right?
Yeah.
So after I went to culinary school, I worked with all different kind of chefs, and also in the commercial kitchen. If you need to create a dish, you have to open to all different kind of cuisine, right? And try different how to say condiments, spice from all different region. And
Yeah.
also I got to work with people from all different, how to say, cultural background. Then so even in my 30s, my palate is still constantly evolve. So who knows,
Right.
maybe one day Arthur decide to continue your mission in Asia, right? And you
Yes.
met a beautiful Asian woman and then started to like ramen or,
Yeah.
kimchi, right? And you will be like, how come I didn't know this delicious thing, right?
Right.
So no, don't worry about it. Time will come. If
Yes.
it's meant to be, then your palate, constantly evolve. I think it's just life experience. People's palate will still constantly evolve. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. And
Mhm.
that's a great entry into our next our next topic of discussion,
Okay.
which
Okay.
you mentioned you are a chef, which I think
Mm-hmm.
is the coolest thing. I do uh, I do some very minor cooking around my house. I live by myself,
Oh.
so I cook for
Uh-huh.
myself a lot. And
Wow.
I
Okay.
do like Asian I do like the Asian dishes and things like that a lot. So, uh, can you talk about some of the health benefits that are associated with Asian cooking and ingredients and the spices? I know there are some great
Mm.
benefits to that style of cooking.
Oh, okay. So, first, if we want to think about Asian cooking like from a diet aspect, okay,
Mhm.
I know a lot of children in the spectrum are on gluten-free diet. So, for if you enjoy Asian food, because in Asia we mainly eat rice. So it's very easy to adopt a gluten-free diet because let's say for snack, tons of super delicious rice crackers. You like snack, you should try. You
Mhm.
love it. So rice crackers, and then we cook a lot of rice and also a lot of rice noodles. So like the Thai dish pad Thai, right? It's
Yeah.
rice noodle, right? And also so gluten free is very easy to achieve. And also when you think about like I am going to host a Zoom cooking lesson to teach people how to make a Thai pancake. It's made of rice flour and shredded coconut. So just
Oh
totally
wow.
no flour at all, and with fresh banana. Maybe you will convert loving food. But anyway, my point is yes, for gluten free it's easy, and also for vegetarian diet that's quite easy because uh like okay, when you cook a pad Thai, it can easily become a vegetarian dish and you add tofu instead. But I would argue that because let's say Taiwan or Thailand, there are a lot of Buddhists. So there are
Mhm.
actually tons of restaurants that only serve vegetarian food with a huge variety. And when you come here, if you're a vegetarian, sometimes you have to suffer a bit. You either have salad or steamed vegetable, right? And that's it, right? You order side dish while other people order entree, right?
Right.
Don't you think so? But
Yeah.
like, like I would argue that stir fried rice, pad Thai or whatnot, even if you omit the meat, even without tofu, is still very delicious. Not to
Mhm.
mention if you add tofu, you add some protein, and also, I mean, when you think about, let's say, Thai cuisine, Taiwanese cuisine, you think about the aromatic component, right?
Mhm.
Like when you cook a tom kha gai, you have galang gao, kaffir lime leaf, that citrusy aroma. Feel like you're walking in the pine forest after rain, right? Those
Mhm.
aromatic, and the lemongrass, right? So we cook the broth with all those aromatic components, and later we throw it away. But when the guests enjoy it, they will be like, "Oh, this is so complex. This is so delicious." The aromatic component and the spice will make you feel so satisfied. So I mean, I is like not not judging, but I would say like when you go to any Asian country, you go to our supermarket or grocery shopping, you actually don't see too much sugar free, low fat, you know,
Mhm.
whatever, that kind of diet food. But I really would argue the healthy lifestyle is not low fat, low carb, low whatnot, or low calorie. Is you have some good aromatic component, you have some spice. Because here, like people think about spice, they think about Thanksgiving. No, you use it all year round. you
Right.
you spice up whenever you want. You don't lock your spice in the cabinet and you're like, oh, it's Thanksgiving. Let's open my cabinet and spice up. No, that's because the thing is, when your food tastes complex,
Mhm.
when it has a lot of spice, you actually get really satisfied that you
Right.
don't overeat,
Yeah, you don't eat
right?
more. Yeah, you
Be-
eat.
You
Mhm.
don't, yeah, because you think about this when if it's low fat and if it's a low carb or whatnot, and in order to make the food still taste okay, actually, like there might be a lot of, how to say, artificial component add to the food.
Mhm.
First, we're not so sure if that kind of processed food is good for us, right? And second, in the end of the day, if the food is plain, I'm a chef. Don't sell me, say, oh, this is good for your health. No, if it's not delicious, I'm not gonna eat it. It has to be delicious first, and then say, hey, it's healthy. I'll be like, okay, I will give you a try.
Right.
So, so for me, it really has to be delicious. And what I believe it's okay. I have done the experiment. I make 2 banana bread, and one I add all different kind of spice, smoked cinnamon, clove, whatnot, uh different kind of spice. So when I ate it, with such complexity in terms of flavor and a little bit walnut and the texture, and I was like, oh, this is so good. But let's say I can have this amount and I already feel like so happy, right? And
Mhm.
then the other one is like plain, not so much spice, pretty basic and no nuts, so the texture is kind of plain. But anyway, my whole point is just, I think in general, I would say if you want to eat healthy, actually, you really do want to learn how to, use good spice or aromatic component to make your food complex. And that way, you get really satisfied, you don't overeat. And I think obesity is also a big problem in US. A lot of people, they have either heart attack or diabetic.
Mhm.
So that's one thing. And then the other thing is just uh, oh, I think now a lot of people are trying to avoid dairy. They want more plant-based food, and that's very easy to achieve through Asian food as well. Because like Italian food, when you think about those Alfredo sauce, those,
Mhm.
you cannot avoid cheese or cream to achieve
Yeah.
that flavor, right? That rich uh, texture. But for us, you can have green curry, yellow curry, messeman curry, whatever Thai food, and it's coconut milk based.
Mhm.
And also you can use coconut milk. I have one recipe on my website. It's a Thai smoothie, and it's just like super delicious with all those aromatic component and the herbs, and
Oh yeah.
no dairy, dairy free. So that's good. And then, one more thing is just the way we handle food, because a lot of time we like to steam food, like we steam dumplings, we steam buns, and we steam rice. So when or steam fish. So think about this: when you deep fry a fish, or when you deep fry or bake. So when you deep fry a fish, the trick to deep fry anything and make it delicious is the temperature has to be right.
Right.
Otherwise, the food will come out really greasy and you don't get a crunchy texture you
Mhm.
like. Very important, the oil temperature has to be at least 375 degree. But think about when the temperature is so high, or when you bake something in the oven, sometimes it can be even like around 420 degree, right? When we bake fish, but then that way it's very intense. While as when you steam, like a lot of time, if my student want to learn how to cook healthy food, we will make a steamed sea bass. Then it's just a one pot dinner or one pot lunch, super easy. You have a Japanese ceramic pot, and then at the bottom you kind of layer some cabbage. On top you put your sea bass, and then you make a Japanese sauce, and then pour the sauce over, cover
Mhm.
it, steam it for 8 minutes. Your fish is ready. You're not even like sweating, deep fry and all those things, and it's cooked so gently. It's like so flaky, rich, and just like, melt in your mouth, and really, really healthy, and goes so well with a bowl of brown rice. So I really think, people can, I also think, oh, so sorry. So I think people should take advantage of the Asian cooking method, and also the spice, the fresh herbs that, or the aromatic components such as the galangal, kaffir lime leaf, or lemongrass. But the other thing is also my approach to food is really whatever suits you. Okay. So in the beginning, let's say if you just want to play, if you just want to explore a little bit, but you are not ready to dive into Asian food, that's totally fine. So like one cooking video that I made was a 5-spice apple cider donut, right?
Oh,
So
that
when you
sounds
make
good.
donut, instead of dipping cinnamon sugar, add a little bit 5-spice to your cinnamon sugar, or 5-spice to your sugar, and dip your, donut. And it was really good, by the way. So a lot of time, I think, it's just like, you can start from, you can go hardcore, oh, I'm just gonna fly to Bangkok and I'm gonna eat my way and bring me all authentic Asian food. That's okay. But if you want to start, just play with some Asian component in your everyday dish, I think that's totally fine too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really cool. That sounds actually really good.
Yes. And then, and like, believe or not, because a lot of time when I teach class, I have leftover. So one time I was teaching a Korean cooking class, and I have a student who say, oh, they would claim they want to learn how to make authentic Korean food, right? But when they arrive there in the classroom, suddenly they will be like, no, I have never heard of gochujang. I don't want to use that. And because customer is always right, I'll be like, fine, I'll take the gochujang back home. Then my plan was to make Italian meatball, but I happen to have gochujang. So I was like, why don't I just add a gochujang to my meatball? And you know what? It was packed of umami, the best meatball I've ever made. That
Yeah.
we make a YouTube on my YouTube channel. We actually make gochujang meatball with gochujang glaze. It was so good.
Oh, I need to look that video up. That sounds amazing.
Because gochujang, it's very similar to miso. It's fermented
Hmm.
soybean paste. So it does have that profound umami in it. And just to add it to meatball, oh my God. It's
So,
really good.
so
Yeah.
to so to wrap up our conversation,
Uh-huh.
I end all of my episodes with this one question, and that is, what is something that people misunderstand about your son and his diagnosis, or just people with disabilities in general?
Okay, there are several things that I want to share. Okay, I hope that's okay.
Hmm.
First is, if you are a parent who have a child with a disability, and then second, I will share with the, just in general,
Hmm.
how people think about disability. Okay, so first, if you are a parent who has a child with a disability, I actually want you to know that um, this is a blessing. This is a blessing, because I really think um, my child helped me to become a much better person, and I have learned so much from him. And I think I share an article with you through my email. So it was an analogy, right? Like you like, I think for every parent, when you have a child, it's kind of similar that you plan a trip, right? You think, oh, I am going to Rome, right? And then but by the time that your flight arrived, you'll be like, no, I'm in Holland. What's going on? I
Hmm.
landed in a different place. But I would say, if you spend the rest of your life thinking why I didn't land on the destination that I planned, then you're missing all the beautiful scenery and where you landed, right? And I think before I had my son, I had my son when I was 25. Okay. So I I I have two masters when I was 24. I used to be that kind of person who think if anybody who does not doing well is because he or she doesn't work hard enough. I didn't even really know there's such thing as a learning disability because all of my friends are A student, right? I went to the best high school, best university, and I studied abroad in my early 20s. But to understand that, oh, some people, they are different, and really learn to love a child as who he is, it's not that easy because I think for a lot of parents, their children represent them, right? So
Hmm.
they want to say, "Oh, my children, oh, went to Harvard, went to Yale," and part of it, it's about their pride, it's about their ego, right? But when you have a child, you know the difference between typical child and children with the disability is with the typical child, sometimes you give them 10%, 20%, but they're like a sponge. They will go learn and they started to use that little 10 or 20%, they grow to 40, 50, right? But let's say with my little man, I might try to bring him 200% of all the knowledge, time, love, attention. And if he give him 5%, I'm pretty happy to, it's
Hmm.
like, right? But I mean, for all those things, and then I won't be able to one day to say, hey, my guy is going to Ivy League or he's, But I think the most incredible thing for me is really to learn unconditional love. It's to love him for who he is and embrace um, all little progress that he made and cheer for him and on this journey. And
Yeah,
I
that's
really
great.
think, right?
That's really
And
great.
also, and then also because of that, I was able to help out other parent and also be less judging, right? So when I see children has a, the behavior is kind of different than other children, a lot of time I understand, okay, where it comes from.
Hmm.
And speaking of the usually how people think about autism, I think one of the biggest problem was because there are tons of movies about children in the spectrum but are genius, right?
Right.
So a lot of other people, when they know your child has autism, they'll be like, he must be very good at one thing. You just need
Hmm.
to find it. But I was like, no, 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 no. Children in the spectrum, there are two kinds. One kind is called high functional, right? So they really might be very advanced in understanding certain things or music or whatnot. And then the other end of the spectrum is we call low functional, and my little man is on low functional side. So he's not verbal, and really what he like to do is just like maybe you have already seen him, right? I made my bed before the interview. He made the
Right.
mess and he was playing with his little ribbon, and that's what he does all day. So, but I think the funny thing is, if other people's children is typical, you wouldn't go with the assumption that he must be so good at one thing. So even with typical developing children, you won't expect them being a genius. Why would you expect a child who with the autism, to be genius must be a genius in a certain way, right? I think
Wow.
that's one thing, right? And
Mhm.
also the other thing, one day I was reading the content you craft on your social media platform, and also a big shout out, I think you have done an amazing job.
Oh,
And
thank you.
one was about when to give help and advice. But that, I think you were saying, like, for people with disability, please do not offer your help or advice until you are asked, right?
Yeah, to make sure
Kind of
that
thing.
make sure
Yeah.
that you ask before you help. Don't
Yes. And I
just
think
jump in and help
yeah,
without
and
asking
I think
first.
it actually really apply to parents who have children with disability as well,
Yeah.
right? Because actually I have done everything that I can. And when I was 25, I had this little man. I didn't prepare that my little man will be different, but I do everything I can. And if he doesn't get where he is compared to other children, it's because he has special needs. And a lot of people, it's good intention, but they will be like, have you tried this? Have you, I have heard there's a kind of therapy. I think one thing that I heard was most kind of unique was a dolphin therapy to play with a dolphin in ocean or whatnot. But, it was a well intention, but also I think, like it's and also there are some therapy they claim they are very useful or whatnot. We don't know what's behind it. Is there evidence, right? But for me, I think it's just I have already I'm doing my best, right? I take him to see the best doctor in children's hospital. I have all different evaluations so he can have a communication device. I hire advocate and I fight to get him to the best private school for children who have severe autism. So really, I have done the things I can do, and to constantly offer me all those, like, have you tried this? Have you tried that? It kind of feel like, I mean,
Well,
I know how to be a parent and you
yeah, and
know,
I think it's a
yeah,
thing of where I say it all the time, every person is different. You know what's best for your child, and it may, what was best for another child that has severe autism, it may not work for your son. So it's, the best course of treatment and actions you need to take for your son and his that will benefit him. So it's, I think people they mean well, but it's just a thing of, what's best for your child. And I love the analogy that you gave of, if it's a child without autism, you wouldn't say like, oh, they must be really good at this one thing. But that's all you hear when you
yes,
discuss children with autism, because, like you
always.
said, because of the movies and stories that are
Mhm.
out there, and the old movie of Rain Man. It's just,
Yeah.
you think that they have to be good at the one thing at math, or they remember certain facts, and it's just not. Like that's the case for some people, but not for all. So I think those were very good points that you brought up. So thank you so much for that. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
And also in the end, I think it's just being a human, like, right? You love your children for who he is, right? And
Hmm.
with autism, without autism, it's not really about you. I think being a parent, it's not really all about you. And, if your children is a genius or is an ordinary man, right? It is about you. We are responsible to take good care of our children and cheer them up on this journey, and love them as who they are. And the other thing I think people usually misunderstood about people in the spectrum is autistic people don't like to be with other people, which is totally wrong. Because as you can see, my apartment is not huge, but it's not small. There are tons of different rooms my little guy can go. But have you noticed? I didn't even ask him. He stayed within,
Yeah.
a three. How is this inch?
Yeah.
So he's not social distancing, right?
Right.
And he so one thing that's so interesting is autistic people, they do crave and they need company. They need
Hmm.
company. Just because they don't interact with you like what other typical developing children are, doesn't mean they don't need company or they don't want company.
Yeah, it just
And
might look
actually,
different. Yeah, it just might look
yeah,
different because,
actually,
like you said, we're video recording this, and your son is sitting, right behind you, and he's like right to the edge of the camera. So, like you said, he's not social distancing. That was funny.
yeah, he likes to be with me. And
Hmm.
also, I think it's just like, for example, like, because he's not verbal and he cannot really communicate with me, but as you can see, he still wants some attention. That's why he will come here and just show me the water bottle, right? Just so I will go do something with
Right.
him.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
which
yeah.
which
Mhm.
which every child does. They they do want
Yeah,
the attention. They want to be near people,
yes.
and it's
Oh,
so true.
yes,
We
yes.
always
So
used to say, I know my mom and my parents, they always used to say when we were, my sister and I were younger,
mhm.
we always used to wait until they got on the phone until we needed something or started fussing and fighting with each other. And it's just like, what, like, can't I have a moment where, I just do something for me? Like I'm talking on the phone and you two want something. And, we didn't want anything all day, but as soon as my parents were busy doing something else, we wanted their attention.
Yeah, yeah. So children in the spectrum, they are not so much difference. They need
Right.
those love and
Yeah.
attention. But the
Yeah.
other thing I would say also, if you are a parent who have a child with a disability, and of course, amazing thing is to love our children as who she is or who he is and give them our unconditional love. But also, I think one thing so important is also to take care of the other child who does not have special need. So I always make sure, like during 1 week, there's one day my little guy is with his father, and I
Mhm.
can devote some mommy and me time just with my daughter only.
Right.
Because I feel like, right, when it's two children, like you say, compete for attention, and it's very normal for a parent who kind of give more attention to the children with the disability because we just worry about him. We want to be there, and we think the other one will manage somehow,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So we, like, because let's say my little guy, I worry, he won't be able to express how he feels and, all those things. So the first reaction is always what he needs. I need to be there. I need to know, all those things. But right. So the balance for the parents and so for the sibling to understand, um, to have a family member different. But in the end of the day, I want to go back to the first thing that I shared. It is a blessing
Hmm.
because my 8-year-old daughter can never be so mature, if she didn't have a brother like my son, right? So
Yeah.
to have that compassion since she's little, and and see how we as a parent, love my little man. I think this is really a blessing.
Yeah, that's great. I loved everything that you said, so thank you so much for that. And
You're welcome.
just so before we wrap this up all the way,
Yes.
can you just give our listeners the information of where they can find you on social media? I know you're on Instagram and your website and your YouTube channel and all of that. So can you provide that information to our
Yes.
listeners?
Yes, yes, thank you so much.
Hmm.
Yes, so my website is www.cookingbeautifullee. Because my last name is Lee, Lee. So www.cookingbeautifullee.com. And Instagram is Cooking Beautifully, Facebook Cooking Beautifully, Pinterest Cooking Beautifully, YouTube Cooking Beautifully. Yes, and also we have a Thursday cooking club. So if you want to cook with me like a monthly base and want to get 30-minute one-on-one cooking consultation, it will be a good club to join us. Or, just participate in a public Zoom cooking class. And if you are a parent who have children with disability or special needs, or if you have children or you yourself is on a special diet or have any different needs you need, welcome to book a private lesson with me because I have served a lot of family because they have either the children is very young or children
Hmm.
are in the spectrum or for some reason it will be a little bit hard for them to attend a public class. Then they hire me to go cook with them one-on-one. And because I believe or not, with my little man and his sensory issue and nonverbal, I actually cook with him several times. And every year I volunteer, go to his school to decorate cupcake with children in the spectrum.
Oh, that's
And
great.
actually, Yeah, cooking is a very good therapy, especially like that when you think about decorate cupcake. They can sprinkle those little,
Yeah.
sand sugar. It's very because children in the spectrum they like to play sand, and that's a very good sensory input for them. And also like the chocolate pearl, and he can
Hmm.
sprinkle, and it's kind of crunchy. He like it in his mouth. So when we decorate the cupcake, it's always their favorite time when
Oh,
I
that's
go and
great.
we read book, we eat a cupcake. So I have a lot of experience, to handle children in the spectrum or with all different kind of special need to go cook with them or let their family all together. Yes.
Oh, that's great. And
Yes.
thank you so much for your time today. And I'm excited to, like I said, I'm excited to get onto your YouTube channel to see about those meatballs you made. I didn't forget about
Yes,
that.
yes. Mhm.
So,
It's a really yes. Five spice donut.
oh yes, the five
Five
spice
spice
stone.
apple cider donut.
Yes,
Yes.
I will definitely be looking at those videos for sure. So
Yeah.
thank you, Melissa. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it and really enjoyed our conversation. It was very educational for me. So I know that our listeners will enjoy it for sure. And
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll be in touch with you sometime soon. And whenever I am back in the Boston area, I will be sure to let you know.
Thank you so much for having me. And I'm sorry if there's one thing I can add.
Uh-huh.
It's just, I think for your true not, never that anybody tell you, you know, you your children is different, so you can lower your expectation. I think every parent, right, you can have your expectation for your child and just be resourceful, right, try to meet other parent with the
Right.
who have children with the disability and have your little community to get some moral support. And you don't compromise. If you think your children deserve this service, deserve this education, deserve to go to this private school for children who have significant, how to say, no, just severe autism or whatnot. Because I have been on this journey, so I think, right, to have a good education advocate or whoever who can help you to fight on this
Hmm.
journey, it's so important.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's a
Mhm.
great piece of advice to not lower your expectations
Yeah.
and based off of, especially not based off of what other people tell you. Um, so
Yeah,
that's
when I thought, when I know my little man has the diagnosis, and I know that he deserved the special education, go to public school,
mhm.
and then the man who evaluated him came to my place, and you know what he told me? I'll never forget. He looked into my eyes and and he say, "Your child is different." And he say, "But not everyone has to be like Yao Ming, the basketball
Mhm.
player." And first, I honestly think it's racism because I'm Taiwanese,
Right.
and Yao Ming is Chinese, right? But
Right.
also, second, I just want the gap between my child and other children to be smaller and get as much education that he needed for him. And also, I really don't think, because my child is different, then people can use that kind of language to speak to me. But for me, it's like a lot of time I think the fight was also about resource, right? Like how much resource they want to give to those children who
Right.
are different, right? And I think just to navigate it, and then no matter what other people tell you, but you have to be rooting for your children, and not to compromise and continue to advocate for them until you get what you want for them. I think that's really, really important.
And again, I think it's a blessing, because if
Mhm.
I don't have a child like this, I wouldn't be a very resilient and resourceful entrepreneur, you know.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah. So
uh,
you're
yeah.
doing great things, and like I said, I'm excited to see more of you. I'm excited to see more of your cooking videos and all of the great things that you're doing. So thank you again for your time, and I'll definitely be in touch with you soon.
Yes, thank you so much. Bye,
All right.
Arthur.
All
Such a
right. Bye.
pleasure.
Have a good day.